Welcome to Talk It Up with Taylor. How's everybody doing? I feel like people can't catch a break right now. We're coming back at you guys with the 9th episode of Talk It Up with Taylor. Welcome back, and welcome if this is your first time joining the podcast. So we are here, and yes, we are still working on getting it on Spotify. May or may not be procrastinating that a bit. There's always things going on, and I just feel like with so many episodes to upload, I'm kind of like, that's a lot. But we will recap what we finally did accomplish was getting the first guest interview with Alan Shulman. So thank you again, Alan, for being part of Talk It Up. We talked on so many different things like mindsets, work environment, my mouth doesn't even want to say it, work environment, leaving it at the door when you get home, and trying to figure out that work-life balance and finding out who you are as a person inwardly and what you give off outwardly and kind of your environment around you. So, I mean, it was a lot. It was a very long episode, 44 minutes. But I think it makes up for not having an episode the previous week, so you give, you take. But here we are going into the 9th episode, and something I wanted to follow up on. There's so many things I want to follow up on from Alan and I's conversation. But one of them is I am coming up on my 1 year, and by the time that you guys hear this tomorrow, it will be my 1 year reporting in South Bend, Indiana, since graduating Michigan State last year. So it's a lot. I feel like it's really the first year when you get into something that you look back and you're like, okay, 1 year over, we went through the 4 seasons, we went through the 365 days of being in this. What do we think? And you're just kind of sitting there trying to figure out what you think of all of it when you first moved into the new area, your new position, your social life, your personal life, and how it all mushes together. But I'm even looking at some of my friends right now who are just getting into their kind of life careers, or they're still studying and they're looking at it like, oh my gosh, this is a lot and I don't even know if I can continue on with this. And then I even saw last week, I was looking at one of the reporters that I always looked up to when I was in college, and she quit. She left the industry, and I don't know if she's leaving. I don't even think she knows if she's leaving 100% for good or if she's ever going to come back. But that was kind of like, whoa, you left and you were so good and you were one of my inspirations through this all, and now you're just gone. I think it's really hard for a lot of people right now to figure out who they are in these new jobs and these new positions and this new way of life, and figuring out the role that they play. Because there's a lot happening, and for us to just pinpoint something in our minds and be like, okay, this is where we are in this present moment. We're not going to have to deal with all these other distractions going on around us, but let's focus right here on the now. And so what this reporter was talking about, her name is Clancy Burke, she was saying how there's just so many tough things in the industry, and not just in this industry, but other industries. So trying to relate it to one another, but even though you have this passion, you have something that you love. And the sucky part is, no matter how much you might love this thing, you love doing it, you love telling these stories, you love interacting with the community. She was saying the schedule was just so hard on her. The pressure was something that was really hard on her. I know I talked on that I had trouble sleeping, I had trouble eating, trouble with my social life and figuring out what I was doing as a person. I was like, Taylor, what are you even trying to do right now? You're just pacing back and forth. Like, do you have a purpose that you're trying to do? Are you trying to grab food out of the fridge? Are you trying to grab the remote? Like, what are you doing? And so I think a lot of people right now are in that position because there's just all of this chaos and they can't get a grip on what they should be dealing on personally, where it's like, okay, this is what I do have control over versus everything else that is happening around the world that you just are fed this information and you're just living through it like, is there anything I can do to help? Sorry to bring up TikTok again, but here we go. Me and my boyfriend were talking and we saw a TikTok, and it was just how Gen Z has gone through so much. And you look at Gen Z, like, why are you the way you are with your emojis and your TikTok dances and this and that and your social influencer trends? But really, they just have so much. Like Gen Z has gone through 9/11, the recession, COVID. They've gone through so many crazy politic events and a lot of wars, a lot of shootings, a lot of different crazy things that almost at this point to them, it's like they're numb to it. And when we're having these conversations, part of the numbness is almost like it's casual. It happens so much that when we're talking about these things, it's like casual. And we're like, oh yeah, this happened, by the way. Someone got shot. Oh, this happened. And it's not like it doesn't hurt, but it happens so much. I mean, I can't get that across enough. But these things happen, and you're like, why do they keep happening? And that's the $1,000,000 question is why? Like, why does this stuff keep happening? And I know that Alan and I were getting a little frustrated about this, heated in our conversation on last week's episode. But I know even Clancy Burke was talking in her YouTube episode, whatever, that, you know, it's not just hard on the industry, but it's hard as an individual person to just gather yourself and be like, okay, this is what's happening in the world, and this is what I have control over in my own personal life. Like, let me try to figure myself out amidst this chaos. And I think part of this chaos has created the people like Gen Z who, not all of them, but they're like, you know, this I don't care, I don't know, like, let me just go with the flow and we'll figure it out wherever life takes us. And then you have the other people who are living life a little bit in panic mode, fight or flight, and they're like, okay, I don't like the position I'm in. I don't know what to do. I don't want to get fired. I don't want to quit, especially if you're a type A person. You don't want to quit. But then you're like, where are the boundaries? Where's my happiness line up with all of this? Do I quit? Do I move on? Like, what's going to happen? And so, you know, like Clancy, she ended up leaving the industry, and she's like, okay, I had that option though where I could leave. I feel like when you feel stuck, that's when the chaos becomes even more, because you're like, I don't know where to turn at this point, and it's not like you're just hitting the four walls, bouncing back and forth. There's no exit, and that can be terrifying for people. I think it's especially terrifying for people when they don't really know who to talk to or where to go for help. And I know Alan and I were talking about therapy and how therapy obviously helps. But even Clancy was saying how when she would record her YouTube episodes, that she couldn't fully 100% be transparent with everyone. And she felt guilty because she's like, oh, this is me. We're just happy. We're living life. And she's like, no, there were so many things going on in my workplace and my own personal life that I just couldn't get across because, you know, there's certain things, you have contracts, you have rules, you have these certain laws where you can't tell certain things, you could get in trouble. So there's this whole fear that you can't fully express who you are as an individual because you're going to get in trouble. You're scared that you're going to do something wrong when you're trying to live your life out here. And then, of course, to add a whole nother layer to it, it's the people who go into something and they're like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do my whole life. And they get a few years into it and they go, never mind, let's take a step back. I actually don't think I want to do this at the moment, and maybe not even ever at all. I'm just done with it. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And now they're at this point like, okay, something that I've always wanted to do, and now I can't see myself doing it anymore. It's like, where do I look to next? Where do I go? The unknown, it's a terrifying place, terrifying territory. And I know I've talked about being vulnerable with one another so that we can understand and try to accept where each of us are coming from. But I know it's difficult because there are certain people, unfortunately, out there who try to make you look bad. And so when you're trying to be vulnerable and open up even not the great parts of you, because we're all human, we're not perfect, we make mistakes, you have to be careful which boundaries you're crossing with people to open up and express yourself. And for me, I know something that's really difficult in getting vulnerable, which is strange because I'm talking to a camera and just kind of sending this out publicly. But having those conversations one-on-one with somebody when you're staring directly into their eyes, there's something about the eyes. I know the eyes are like the gateway to the soul, but when I stare into a person's eyes for too long, I get a little like antsy. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're just opening up and connecting like this. Like, that's kind of terrifying. Like, I do feel like I'm staring into your soul as you're telling me what's happening in your life. It's a whole new thing. It's a weird feeling. I always think to myself and wonder what the world would look like if it were more vulnerable, open, and honest. Like, what would people react and do? Would it be a better place? Would it be a worse place? Because you would see people coming out, I don't know, I guess if everyone was open. Okay, what if there was a world where people could just express themselves and not worry? I don't know, that could be tough too. These things, I mean, I know why there's laws and rules in place because it would be chaos, even more chaos, but I'm also like, it's a tough fight, you guys. This argument, I'm gonna bring someone on and we're gonna talk about this because I feel like it can't just be me talking about this. If there were two Taylors, we definitely could. We could banter. But I can't really do that. It's strange. I don't know. I guess ultimately what I want to get down to is, what do you do when no one's around? Like, when no one's around, I jam my music. My neighbors, I think I've told you guys, they probably just get so annoyed when I do that. But it's not that loud. I don't know. But I'll do that. I'll turn the music on. I'll start dancing around. I'll sing a little bit. And we'll just let loose. Whatever. We'll hang out. We don't really care because no one else is around and we're just in our own energy. But then other times we're just kind of laying like a sloth on the couch, and it's just what it is in the day. Did we do much? No, but that's okay, because usually there's a lot going on. I think obviously it's also really important to pay attention to what your energy's like when you're not all just fun and spirited all the time. Like, even in your depressive moments, your anxious moments, what's causing that? What's influencing you to not have that peace of mind, that balance that you're looking for in life. I know in last week's episode, we were also talking about the energy that you're around can also impact how you're feeling. Like, if you're putting on this facade and you're not able to express who you truly are, then it drains your energy even more because you're not able to fully express how you're feeling. And even if you're in a depressive state and you're around a bunch of positive energy, it can wear you down because you're like, I am not in this place right now to just be like woohoo all the time. You're like, I just want to sit down and not do anything. And so tying it back into last week's episode as well, in finding that work-life balance, I think a lot of people who were in isolation before and they were dealing with themselves, who they were as a person internally, and now coming back out into the world and seeing all of these external factors, they're like, okay, where is this work-life balance? Who can I be as a person at all times that doesn't drain my energy when I'm home, and I can flip that switch off of being at work, and then I have to flip that switch back on when I'm at work, and it can be exhausting. And so like Clancy talked about when she was exhausted, and like my friends right now who are panicked and they can't figure out what to do with their lives, and like me, where I'm even like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life at all times. And people are like, Taylor, what are your goals and dreams? I love it. Love those questions. But I'm also like, I don't know. And so we are in this world right now of I don't knows and I don't cares. But people do care. They do care. Now, wrapping it up, and what you guys didn't just see was me sitting blankly staring at the mirror. And hello, Fergie. Perfect timing. Pause. Do you want to come in? Come here. She's just going to sit on the floor. But what you guys didn't see was me just sitting blankly for a few minutes staring at my mirror like, what the heck? How do we wrap this up right now? And I think it's okay if you don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. Because when you're looking at adults and you're like, how do you do this? Most of them don't know. There she is. And they're just going with it. They're going with the flow, trying to figure it out. So I think the best thing is to get vulnerable and open up to people to a certain extent, because they can kind of help you and you can help them along the way in figuring out and how you guys all made it through life. But the main thing too is it's okay if you don't know, because this whole world is filled with unknowns. And even if you do know something, scientists know stuff all the time. And then guess what? It changes and there's a new known. There's a new truth. So in the next episode, get ready, because we're going to be talking more about who you are as an individual and how to figure out how to be more you. Even though I don't really even know how to be more me, except to just express myself and try to follow my truth. So there we go. You're going to talkitupwtaylor.weebly.com for more information on Talk It Up. So stay tuned on Talk It Up for any updates, and especially once we get Talk It Up rolling on Spotify, which I am really, really hoping to do by next Talk It Up. But we're getting ready for this 1 year as a reporter, and that's kind of crazy. So I'm going to get ready for that because the day starts early tomorrow. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week, no matter what you went through, all of the frustrations, all of the chaos, all of the pressures that are weighing you down right now in the world. I don't fully get it from your perspective, but I get it from mine. And if it's anything somewhat similar or not at all, we're in it together. So let's power through. All right, guys, have a great rest of your week. And I hope to see you soon on Talk It Up with Taylor.